Welcome to the Pyros arm swing progression. I'm really excited to offer this to all of you guys and start sharing some of my ideas. But I want to get one thing clear first. This is designed to just give you a new tool in your toolbox, a movement tool that is your job to pull out again on the court or in practice. What this movement is today and some of the other movements are just movements or drills to build context or to create a new tool to put in your toolbox so that you can then have it and retrieve it later in practice or in game. This might automatically start improving some of your arm swing, but likely it's going to have to have some integration with it on your own. Feel free to tinker with it and break the rules, or don't do exactly as I say. This is just one way that I like to teach it. But see if you can understand the underlying concepts or principles and carry those on to your own adaptations or unique ideas. And then please feel free to share them with me. I'm just one guy coming up with these ideas. So what we're going to start off with today is a drill that is going to force you to have to rotate with your hips to throw a volleyball. So if Tanner could start on the ground here, and you can use anything but volleyball as well on your back. If you can't palm volleyball, another kind of ball will work very well. So before he starts throwing, I want to show you the end game of the movement. And if he finished throwing a ball all the way over his side, he's going to finish here. And this is where I want you guys to know this is the end game, something roughly like this. This is where you're going to end up. Where you're going to start is on your back like this, legs up. And so, just so you can see this angle, he's going to slow motion go as if he's going to throw the ball that way. So first, okay, come back. Before he does anything, what we want is that the hip initiates the throw. Tanner, being a soccer player here, doesn't really know that though, so we'll give him a break. Where he comes back with his arm. This is a big habit and what we see in a lot of volleyball players and other overhead athletes. So what I'm going to ask him to do is actually try and bring his left foot towards my hand over here or behind him. That should result in him rotating his hips forward. The same time as that happens, the back of his hand should come towards the ground here. So if Tanner was going to bring his foot towards me and let this stay there, arm relax. So Tanner needs to learn how to relax his arm a little bit, just as you will. And so the arm is a controlled fall to the ground here. So this is the end of part one of this movement. And what we really like about this is a really nice stretch of these diagonal muscles that will help throw or hit a volleyball a lot better, propelled by the hips. So to come back, again, just practicing part one would be, can he get his left foot back towards me as he lets his arm fall to the ground? Same time now. Excellent. Come back up. And we're going to keep this simple, just have his left arm there pointing towards the target. And repeat that again. Great. And so then once he's here, the next step would be, we want more of his torso to continue to accelerate the arm. And so his rib cage will keep coming forward, which pulls his shoulder and his elbow forward, and then lastly his hand. And so notice this segmental rotation creates a very whip-like effect for the arm, where we go hips, rib cage, shoulder, elbow, hand, rather than just hand or arm as the sole intention or focus. And so Tanner strings it together now. Awesome. So that's in a much slower pace than what we would like. Totally okay, but for him to actually throw the ball, we want him to go a little bit faster. So go to position yourself so you can throw the ball. Right arm up. And go ahead and rotate. So he broke that up into 2 movements, totally okay. Keep doing that if you want to understand the requirements or what happens if you observe where your body actually is within these phases, and then progress to something faster and more fluid. Try and catch it. Don't try and catch it. Do what you're doing before. Perfect. So again, as a principal rule of thumb with all of this, tinker, know the end game, know where you want to end up or what you're trying to do, which is throw the ball. How you want to do it is segmentally, with hips initiating everything, and lastly with a really relaxed arm. You're not going to have a whippy or fast arm. There's a lot of tension with it. The arm is an effect of the cause of what the rest of the body does. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out and enjoy the next video in the series. All right, welcome to the Pyros Arm Swing Progression Part 2. So before we get started with this, there's just going to be 3 main components of what we do going forward. Last time we started with something simple and quite different, which is just throwing while rolling on the ground. And the main purpose of that was to teach you how to throw and use your arm without only using your arm and forcing you to rotate your whole body. So the 3 main components that we're going to go through are going to escalate in complexity. Always feel free to scale back down to option number 1 and then back up to 3. Throughout all of that, I want you to feel what it's like to move. And what's going to help you do that is closing your eyes from time to time so that you don't have as much senses being exposed to different stimuli and having to look at stuff, but really understanding what it feels like in your body. And why that's so important is this is your job to be able to transfer this onto the court. So you'll know what it feels like throughout these drills, and then know if it feels the same way or does not feel the same way when you're peppering with your partner or going and hitting lines or in a game. That skill of just feeling what your body is doing will not only help you within these drills, but also in a game and reflecting back on how you did or how it felt, or maybe your best kill felt really good. Then you understand what's going on in your body and your mind for those successful things to happen, and maybe the not so successful things to happen. So the 3 things: I want you to be able to rotate, I want you to be able to throw and hit. And they're all going to build off of each other. The first one is I want to keep it really simple and teach you or have you learn what it's like to just rotate your rib cage or your spine or your shoulders, whatever you want to associate that feeling with. How I like to do it and how I like to teach it is I want to get rid of the left arm at first and just see what it's like to rotate my whole body or my rib cage without my arm moving. And why this is so important is that you'll start feeling your core work to rotate your back. And that's what I want you to feel working for you rather than your shoulder. Throughout all of this, your shoulder should be really relaxed and not working too much. The biggest error I see in everybody's arm swings these days is that they use their elbow to pull their arm back. And so then this takes their shoulder out of a neutral position. This position is the anatomical neutral of your shoulder where there's the most co-contraction possible within the joint. So as much muscles that you have are now encouraged to work for you. So why would we want to accelerate our arm out of a very suboptimal position? But if we have as much musculature working for us, then when we accelerate our rib cage and our hips really fast, then our shoulder's in a happy place. So step 1 is just sit on the ground, left hand on your chest, eyes closed. And what is it like to rotate your rib cage without your arm moving. And just feel what happens at your rib cage, what happens at your shoulder, at your hand. Feel that both shoulders and your elbow should move simultaneously rather than one faster than the other or not in sync. I'm only trying to rotate to about 45 degrees here, and that's it. Once I've gotten comfortable with that, then we're going to move on or progress to, say, 1.2. What is it like to rotate with our hand holding a ball? If you're a kid or you have small hands, I got small hands for how tall I am. Sometimes it's not easy to palm a ball. By all means, use a tennis ball, use something else, use a small soccer ball, a big tennis ball, whatever you want. I want you to know what it's like to have a little bit of hand tension to hold the ball and still be able to differentiate motion at your rib cage. Next in the rotation is our left arm's not going to stay on our chest when we hit. So I want you to then know what it's like to have this left arm going towards the target and back as you open up. Sometimes it feels like I'm almost pushing my left elbow away to help open me up. And just notice that my elbow is going in a straight line to and from my target. So to summarize what this part one rotation is just feel what it's like to rotate your rib cage without your right arm doing anything at all. And what it looks like from the side. So from here, what I want you to notice is that there's going to be very few wrinkles in the back of my shirt at my shoulder. And I like that cue because I can feel my shirt stay taut over my shoulder, as opposed to this, where now I don't feel that same tension of my shirt fabric on my shoulder. And so for me to really tune into that, I might keep my eyes closed for a little while. And then once I'm comfortable with that, I'm going to start throwing. So to throw, you're going to start here, palm facing the ground, and I want you to initiate still with your hips and your rib cage, thinking about not doing anything with your arm or almost leaving it behind you. And by doing that, you're going to create a really nice whip or stretch rubber band-like effect from your shoulder to your hips. And if I do that, this should be the coordination timing. As I rotate, my hand starts to come backwards, and eventually elbow will come up. And then once I'm comfortable with that timing and coordination, I'm just going to throw. What I want you to think about when you throw is first your body. Once that's kind of loaded into your operating system, I want you to pick a target. And so see if you have two focuses, one internal and one external, as you perform the task. And what it looks like from the front. So I think I've gotten the hang of that now. It's not perfect, it's just a little bit better, which is the main goal I want you to have throughout all of this. It's not going to be perfect the first time. I just want it to be continually better. So next, I want us to prepare to hit. So now there's going to be a lot more of a time constraint in how this happens. So I just want you to get used to tossing, tracking the ball with your eyes, and while it's in the air, can you get your arm back without yanking it back, using your rib cage to bring it back? So what that looks like. Cool, so I think I got the hang of it. I still feel my shoulder relaxed, not doing anything. I feel tension in my core, bringing my rib cage back, so now I'm ready to hit. Once you understand what it feels like to move with your rib cage only, I want that same feeling to transcend throughout this entire progression, not only when we're sitting, but through the next series of events as well. If you're starting to hit, and most likely what's going to happen when you do that is you're going to do this again. And I want you to feel that tension in your shoulder. Okay, maybe you're not there yet. Go back to just this. Okay, now I feel what it's like. And let me come back to getting that feeling before you hit. Your brain really accelerates its learning from understanding what to do and not to do, or just quick contrast of how things feel. And so it's your job to, one, remember how things feel throughout your body. Ask questions to yourself. Where do I feel tension? What do I feel working? Is my arm moving faster than my rib cage? Investigate, explore. Part of the challenge with this, us communicating through this video, is that I don't get feedback from you. I can't change my cues on how best to coach you. So it's your job to either ask questions or to really dive down and explore what it feels like to rotate with your rib cage and the rest of your body and having a really relaxed arm. Enjoy the process, just get better, not perfect, and I look forward to talking to you in the next progression. Welcome to the Imperios arm swing. This is progression number 3. We're going to be in the half kneeling position now. Why we're in this position is that we're going to continue to add more variables of different joints and how your body reacts with gravity as we get towards standing and then jumping and what it would be like in a game. So in this position, we're setting up your body like a door on a frame and how it rotates around the hinges. Your door being your torso, the 2 hinges are going to be your hip and your shoulder. The frame of the door right now is going to be your knee, and that this is what's connecting you to the foundation of the house, which is your foot into the ground. So again, we're going to go through our 3 steps of rotation, throwing, and then hitting. Throughout all this, I want you to now start to feel what it's like to have a stable knee. Most commonly what I see in this position is when people open up to throw or hit, this knee drops down. So now the hinge is just hanging on by a thread onto the frame of the house, onto an unstable foundation. So it's really important that this knee stays in place from left and right. It can go forward and back as we rotate in and out of it, but I really just don't want it to go in or too far out, okay? More or less straight up and down. So now what we're going to have involved is our hips. Super important. I know I talk a ton about the rib cage, but the hips are really, really important in opening up and driving for power. So what I want you to do here is the same thing we did seated, is learn what it's like to rotate now your rib cage and your hips. So this left hand actually might switch over to my belt buckle area or this left knee. And that, what is it like to open up my hips from this knee and then come back? And I won't even add in the rib cage yet. Just opening the hips here. And just notice that when I open up, I'm only going to about 45 degrees. There's no way you're going to open your hips up to 0.90 degrees without losing that foundation. So I'm going to switch from hips. Okay, I'm at 45 degrees. I feel maybe a light stretch here. Okay, now I add in the rib cage on top of it. So now we have this nice rubber banded coil above a really stable foundation. And so you can see the diagonal lines of my shirt are very similar to your muscle, where you're creating a rubber band or stretch-like effect from your shoulder all the way down to your hip and into a stable knee. So I'm going to go from hips to rib cage, and maybe glance at my knee to see is it on top of my foot, is it inside my foot, too far out, and repeat that over and over and over again until I feel comfortable and ready to progress. So then I'm going to add the ball. I can still have my left hand on my hips or my chest, or I can start having it point to my target. So hips are going to open up, then chest, and then I'll reset. Hips open up, chest opens up. Maybe I take a second to see what this feels like, that my arm is still relaxed, but I feel maybe a slight tension across here, a little bit of a stretch for me in my hip, and come back to neutral. What happens next as we progress towards throwing is really crucial for timing and coordination with the arm swing. Is what happens with the hand as the hip initiates everything in the air. And that we open, and as the hip initiates, we should be able to rotate without anything happening up top. As we add this stretch across our body, and the hand will come up. So next, I'm just going to practice hip rotation as the hand comes up in a relaxed manner. With speed, your hand's going to end up going further back, where it should if we've got a stable core and a nice relaxed shoulder. So once I've got the hang of this a little bit, know what this feels like, then I'm going to put it all together for a throw. Starting here, facing my target, open hips, open chest, relaxed arm, and throw. And make sure you hold on to a nice secure ball. Again, perfect example, if the ball is too big for you, throw a tennis ball, throw something else. It's okay if you fall forward onto the knee. Again, if you go forward and backwards, actually would really like more weight into the foundation as you throw. But if you just stay rotating over your knee, I'm okay with that as well. So, next step of throwing is hitting. And there's still these little subsets of what we do to prepare to hit that I want you to go over now with the stable foundation of your door frame. So, can I toss, open my hips and shoulders, and still be in a ready position as I watch the ball? I might stop, assess where I'm at, connect the dots of what I see and what I feel. And then once, again, I'm ready for that, then I'll start hitting. Okay, so I want to take this point, or this moment, to talk about the follow-through. Oh man, few things. Pet peeve of mine. Wrist snap. Who cares about the wrist snap? It doesn't matter. It's a product of a relaxed arm swing and good rotation. It's not something that you should be consciously thinking of. The last thing I want to see you do is this. If you're trying to have a goal of cracking a whip or whipping a wet towel, you're going to create a lot of energy into the handle of where you're holding it and let go, or not follow the energy down to the end and try and crack the whip with the other hand. Imagine doing that. You're not going to get anything but a sore left arm as you try and crack it with your right arm, or vice versa. Same thing with the arm swing. The wrist snap and the top spin on the ball is a product of a relaxed arm swing and good rotation. Pet peeve number 2 is forcing the arm into one position in the follow-through. that it always has to follow by your side. Well, no, not really. It should be an indicator of what you would try to act on the ball. That if you go really far across your body with the intent of your target, then that's where your arm should follow. If you're rotating away and following down your side, then maybe it needs to fall down your side. It doesn't need to be one spot every single time. Number 3, with the follow through, it's the same principles as we open up, that we want our whole body involved to put power into the arm. We want the whole body involved to decelerate or dampen the power from our arm, so that when we do swing, our rib cage should follow through as well, and that my back is to the center, my back is to you, the audience right now, but that the whole body is still involved. Instead of here, where it's just a ton and ton of shoulder work and potential risk for injury. To me, risk for injury is the same as decreased performance. You hitting like this is not going to let you hit your best or for the longest amount of years. So when you go back to your process and start thinking about the follow through. When I throw, am I tense or am I relaxed? Am I continuing with the momentum of the throw, or am I trying to stop it? Okay? Be more relaxed. It's very counterintuitive, almost a paradox, that to hit really fast and hit really hard, you need to be more relaxed. And that's just because if you relax your arm and your upper body a little bit more, then it's going to force your hips and low and core to stabilize more. All energy is conserved. So if we're taking a ton of energy in our arm, we're taking it away from our middle, our hips. So again, it comes back to feeling. Feel relaxed throughout the movement. Understand the key points and key positions I want you to be in throughout this whole process. And feel free to always scale back down and scale out throughout this whole process. Your brain learns with a lot of variety and novelty and going back and forth between things. A lot of times what I do with myself and the athletes that I coach is I might have them hit and then go straight back into square one. What is it like to do pure rotation without any arm work? Assess what my body is doing, ask questions to myself. What are my rib cage, or where is my rib cage pointing? Where do I feel tension? Okay, I feel some tension in my arm. Let me relax that and have a really good conversation with yourself and your body. And just go back and forth between what you feel is most helpful. This is where it's your responsibility, is you have to feel what it's like. You have to be able to balance the demands of an internal focus and an external focus. I want you to be able to know what it feels like to throw with a lot of rotation and a relaxed arm, as well as at championship point, be able to know how it felt. And did you have the same principles in place? It's your job to try and transfer the principles that we're talking about onto the court, into practice, into competitive scenarios so that you can make it a habit. Again, like I said the last time, it's really important to eventually have a target. That can your brain understand what it's like to move your body with an internal focus, as well as focusing on a partner, an X on the wall, whatever you want. Okay? Ask questions, post to social media, let me know what your experience is like, and I'll see you next time when we go even higher. All right, standing and hitting. And before we move on, I gotta talk about a big pet peeve of mine when I see any kid practice or anybody practicing volleyball these days. This is what I see people warming up. Just facing their partner and just standing and throwing. Their feet never move. Same thing when they're peppering or just hitting. I mean, why? If I can do it without moving my whole body, why bother? Well, this is why. How you do anything is how you do everything. How you rotate to hit a standing down ball and throw is going to help you rotate in the air, help you rotate at any point that you need it behind the service line. And it's a practice of being mindful of your movement, mindful of how you hit and what creates that power. So delving into what I want to do standing now is very similar to what we did in half kneeling. I want you to still have your stable knee, stable hinge connected to the foundation of the house, where I want you to feel, what is it like to just rotate my hips without my knee moving? Start understanding that this is not a stable position to be in, nor does it really feel that good. So I might watch my knee and rotate, or even have my right hand on my hips, left hand on my knee. And can I keep my left hand stable as my right hand rotates? Notice my foot is pivoting and spinning. That's because there's not much weight there. It's just a kickstand. 80% of my weight or more is on my left foot. And then once I've started to build this skill, then maybe I switch what I want to feel, and I open and rotate and get ready to prepare to throw or hit. Closing your eyes is going to provide a fun balancing challenge and give you a different stimulus of awareness. All right, so then throwing is going to look like this, where I'm going to rotate my hips 45 degrees open, rib cage the rest of the way, elbow pointing towards target, and then I'm going to spin and get my arm ready to throw. To really practice, it's really important to practice this timing and coordination. So much of what I do is more than just having people get stronger muscularly, lifting weights and stuff, is teaching you timing and coordination. Some of the best volleyball players in the world have zero muscle mass. It's not like they're really strong, they just have really good timing and coordination. So really practice what it's like for your hips to initiate the throw and hips to initiate the arm swing. Throughout this whole movement, I want a majority of your weight on your front leg. Once I'm comfortable with that, or not so comfortable, I might regress it back to feeling what it's like to rotate my rib cage with a relaxed arm. But then I'm going to toss. Can I toss and open with my knees staying stable? Knees staying stable. Relaxed right arm, not yanking everything back, taking our arm out of a stable position. Now I think I'm ready to hit, so I'm going to explore what that's like. Feel free to step forward, feel free to move. Okay, just because there's a lot of weight on your left leg doesn't mean you have to be cemented in there. As you can tell, it's really hard to have consistent toss all the time. One, you get to practice consistent toss for behind the service line. Two, feel free to move your feet. These are principles I want you to apply, and maybe some rules you can bend a little bit, okay? Explore what it's like to move your body in dynamic ways with a relaxed arm. A really fun game I like to play, if I had a higher ceiling, is how long can I wait to hit? So the ball might be in the air, and I might be waiting here as long as I can, and then accelerate through really, really fast. That constraint of having a little bit of time to hit the ball should force you to rotate really fast with a really relaxed arm. And we'll get into that more in the next progression. So again, what it looks like is, can I open 45 degrees of hips, 45 degrees of the shoulder, relaxed arm, weight on the front leg, and then hit. And just like I said so much in last time, don't forget to follow through. Follow through with the relaxed right arm, with your rib cage following through. You don't understand something, ask questions. You can ask your friend to watch. It's so important that you all develop this awareness of what is better technique versus worse. That way you guys can give feedback to each other. Simple key positions in this. Hips 45 degrees, knee not collapsing in, chest to 90 degrees, palm facing the ground, and shoulders and elbow in line. And if you can start here, you're in a really good position. If you slow-mo it with your phone or camera, what I want to see is this timing and coordination. And then the feedback you should get from yourself is, what does my arm feel like afterwards? Is it sore? Is it a lot of work? Or is it relaxed, whippy, and fast? Keep exploring. Have fun. Welcome to Piros arm swing progression. Now we're going to start putting some things in place. Bring to play. We're going to start moving a little faster. We're going to start jumping. But we're going to jump with an interesting twist. So what I want is that you're actually going to jump an inch off the ground, as little as possible. How I want you to do that, I'm going to glaze over, but the principles are, I actually don't want you on your toes. I want you on your whole foot so that you have to use your giant springs called legs to rotate rather than toes, okay? I can get into that in detail later, but it's faster, shown by research. It's a lot more stable, and it provides you a little bit better framework and foundation to rotate. So with this, there's not really a regression back into just rotating and throwing. What I would recommend is going back to any of the previous videos or previous positions for that regression. So what you're going to do here is that my target is about 90 degrees from me, and then I'm going to face this way. Where I want you to end up is anywhere with your right foot in front. I'm going to exaggerate it so that I can be all the way around. I want to know what it's like to rotate a ton really, really fast rather than just a little bit. So to summarize that, I want you to stand here and you're just going to hop and try and spin 180 degrees. Anything less than that, or in between 90 to 180, I'm okay with. Anything less than that, not so much. So with this, it's going to be really challenging or testing of how well do you get the previous concepts. You're going to have to string everything together now. I'm going to toss, open up, and from here, wait to pull the trigger. And when I do that, it's going to be hop off the ground and hit. Okay? So, I don't really care if it's perfect or if it's pretty right now. It's going to look a little ugly. I'm not really trying to choose a target yet. I'm just trying to piece everything together. See what it's like to rotate in the air with a relaxed arm. This is very new. We're now taking the foundation of the house and levitating it really and trying to spin it. The left leg is still working as an artificial, or rather the left side is an artificial door frame for you to rotate around, except now there's no foundation. The lower you stand, or the lower you hop, the faster you'll be able to rotate, and the more that should give you the feeling that I want you to have when you're in the air, when you're really jumping and trying to rotate. Explore, enjoy, feel free to always regress it back to sitting or rolling on the ground. Have fun.